Jakes is a world-renowned pastor. Remember, he suffered a heart attack in front of his congregation last November.
For years, millions of people trusted Pastor T.D. Jakes. They watched him preach about faith, healing, and hope while his church grew into one of the biggest ministries in America. But behind the success, pressure had been building for years. Questions about wealth, criticism of his teachings, lawsuits, and online rumors slowly began to surround his name. And in the middle of this chaos, Jakes suddenly collapsed during a live church service after suffering a near-fatal heart attack. Now, many people believe his entire empire stands close to destruction. So how did T.D. Jakes end up here? Let's get into it. The troubled childhood. Thomas Dexter Jakes was born on June 9, 1957, in South Charleston, West Virginia. From the beginning, his life carried two things at the same time: strong faith and constant struggle. He grew up in a small black community where neighbors watched over each other and families stayed close during hard times. His father, Ernest Sr., ran a janitorial business, while his mother, Odith, worked as a home economics teacher and stretched every dollar inside the house. Even as a little boy, Jakes acted differently from other children around him. By the age of 5, he already carried a Bible everywhere he went and preached to imaginary crowds inside the neighborhood. Adults started calling him Bible Boy. Some people smiled when they saw him. Other children laughed at him and pushed him aside because of his deep faith and quiet personality. People made fun of him even more because he had a slight lisp and sometimes struggled to pronounce words clearly. During school readings and church moments, people told him that no one would ever listen to a preacher who couldn't speak fluently. Those words stayed inside him for years. Instead of breaking him completely, they slowly built a strong need to prove everybody wrong. Then life became much heavier. In 1967, when Jakes was only 10 years old, his father's kidneys began failing badly. Childhood disappeared almost overnight. While other children played outside, he stayed home helping his mother care for the family. He handled dialysis routines, managed small jobs, and helped keep the house running while money disappeared quickly. After his father died in January 1973, the pressure grew even larger. Jakes suddenly felt responsible for everything around him. He sold vegetables for extra cash and thought constantly about survival instead of dreams. Still, one thing never left him. The calling to preach kept growing quietly inside him. On May 29, 1976, exactly 3 years after losing his father, he preached his first sermon. The same voice people once mocked finally carried across a church room with confidence and power. And what started inside a tiny church in West Virginia would soon become a ministry so massive that fame, money, pressure, and controversy would follow him everywhere he went. Making it big. Around 1980, T.D. Jakes started what later became Greater Emmanuel Temple of Faith inside a small storefront church in Montgomery, West Virginia. Only 10 people came in the beginning. He had no salary, no savings, and no safety net waiting for him if everything failed. The building barely looked like a church. Some days, the room felt empty and hopeless, but he kept preaching anyway because he believed his calling mattered more than comfort. Outside the church, life stayed brutal. Jakes worked hard labor jobs during the day while trying to lead a struggling congregation at night. He dug ditches, laid PVC pipe for gas lines, and worked near Union Carbide job sites beside his brother just to survive. Most jobs paid around $100, but even that money disappeared quickly inside a growing household. When the plant shut down in 1982, things became even worse. He collected pop bottles for pennies, worked odd jobs, and kept pushing forward while exhaustion slowly filled every part of his life. Inside the church, the pressure looked just as painful. Bills stayed unpaid for long periods. Sometimes, the building had no electricity or heat during freezing winters in West Virginia. People sat in heavy coats while Jakes preached by candlelight and flashlight inside dark rooms with cold air moving through the walls. Yet those services carried something powerful because his sermons came from real fear, hunger, pressure, and pain. People listened carefully because they knew his struggle was real. At the same time, he tried building a family with Sarita Ann Jameson after they married on May 29, 1982. They faced rent scares, skipped meals, and raised children while trying to hold together a ministry that still brought little money. During those difficult years, Jake studied late at night through correspondence courses while struggling to support his family and church. He later earned a bachelor's degree in biblical studies in 1985, a master's degree in 1990, and a Doctor of Ministry degree in 1995. Slowly, the church began growing. By the late 1980s, around 100 people attended services. By 1993, after moving to Cross Lanes, attendance had passed 1,000 people in only 2 years. Suddenly, the struggling preacher from West Virginia became impossible for the country to ignore. Peak of fame. By the mid-1990s, T.D. Jakes no longer looked like a small-town preacher trying to survive inside a struggling church. His voice had traveled far beyond West Virginia, and millions of people across America now recognized his sermons, television appearances, and emotional style of preaching. In 1995, he founded TDJ Enterprises and turned his ministry into a growing media business that reached bookstores, churches, television stations, and huge conference arenas across the country. Around the same time, his radio and television program called Get Ready started reaching homes nationwide. His preaching focused on healing, pain, relationships, faith, and emotional struggle in a way that connected deeply with ordinary people. Many women especially felt understood because he openly spoke about abuse, trauma, heartbreak, and suffering that many churches rarely discussed publicly. His message, "Woman, Thou Art Loosed," quickly grew into a nationwide movement that filled arenas and sold millions of books around the world. Then came one of the biggest risks of his life. In May 1996, Jakes moved to Dallas, Texas with Sarita, their 5 children, and around 50 loyal church families. He purchased a worn church property near Dallas Baptist University in Oak Cliff for around $3 million and renamed it the Potter's House. During the first service on May 19, 1996, he expected only a few hundred people. Instead, more than 2,000 crowded inside the building and overflowed into the parking areas. Growth exploded after that moment. By late 1997, weekly attendance reached around 7,000 people. By May 1998, attendance reportedly doubled to 14,000. Then, in August 2000, the Potter's House opened a massive 191,000 square foot sanctuary with seating for around 7,600 people, giant production systems, and a huge choir loft. Soon, his influence reached almost everywhere. The Potter's Touch aired on TBN and BET, reaching around 3.3 million viewers weekly during the early 2000s. Time magazine placed him on its cover in September 2001 and compared him to Billy Graham. But as his fame, wealth, and celebrity friendships grew larger, criticism and suspicion also started growing quietly around him. Everything turned dark. Some people believed he gave hope to struggling families. Others believed he blurred the line between ministry, money, fame, and personal success. His sermons about homosexuality also created backlash because he strongly spoke against it while saying people should still show love. The criticism stayed in the background for a long time, but things became much darker after 2021. That year, Jakes partnered with Sean Diddy Combs to bring his Kingdom Culture sermons onto Revolt T5. At first, the partnership looked like another smart media move. Then, everything changed in 2024. On February 26, 2024, producer Rodney "Lil Rod" Jones filed a $30 million lawsuit in federal court in New York against Sean Combs. Inside the filing, Jones claimed Diddy talked about using his relationship with Bishop T.D. Jakes to soften public damage connected to Cassie Ventura's November 16, 2023, sexual abuse lawsuit. Even though the lawsuit never accused Jakes of criminal activity, social media exploded immediately. Videos spread across YouTube, TikTok, and other platforms claiming he attended secret parties connected to Diddy. Millions of people watched the rumors before facts could catch up. Later, Jakes claimed more than 44,000 AI-driven bot accounts flooded the internet with fake stories about him. He said the attacks damaged his family, reputation, and health badly. Then another crisis arrived. In late 2024, brothers Dwayne and Richard Youngblood accused Jakes of sexual misconduct connected to incidents they claimed happened during the 1980s. Jakes denied everything and called the accusations an extortion attempt tied to a November 15, 2024 demand letter asking for $6 million. Then, on November 24, 2024, while preaching live at the Potter's house, Jakes suddenly collapsed in front of his congregation. Doctors later revealed he suffered a near-fatal heart attack. They thought he was going to die. Many people believed the overwhelming stress surrounding the accusations and public controversy had finally caught up with him. What shocked supporters even more was that Jakes survived. Despite the health scare, he continued strongly denying every accusation against him while fighting to protect both his ministry and reputation. But by 2025, the damage to his public image had already become enormous. To supporters, he remained a victim of rumors and online attacks. To critics, his denials no longer mattered. And the empire that once looked untouchable suddenly appeared exhausted, fragile, and dangerously close to collapse. For years, people trusted T.D. Jakes without hesitation, but the controversy changed how followers viewed him across America. Some people still defend him strongly, while others believe powerful religious leaders should answer every accusation openly. So what do you think? Can T.D. Jakes rebuild the trust and reputation he spent decades creating, or has the damage to his public image just been too much? Let me know your thoughts about this in the comments below. And if you found this video fascinating, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Also, consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already, because we'll be uploading more incredible stories like this one in the coming weeks. Until then, see ya!